welcome to SC Conversation. As many of you know, I've become some sort of advocate for the aging population here in South Carolina, and especially here in the upstate. So we're going to have some shows here where we talk to some families who have aging population in their home or in assisted living facilities. So this week we have Vickie and Keith. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So Vickie, tell us a little bit about your situation with your loved one.
I recently brought my 93-year-old grandmother home from nursing home. She'd been there for 3.5 years. She was COVID positive, and since the pandemic, I decided to bring her home. Now, Grandma raised me since I was 6 weeks old, so Grandma is really mom to me.
Okay.
So
when did she go to the nursing home?
In March 2017.
Okay. And how was everything prior to the pandemic with her at her facility?
It took some getting used to the first year, but after that, she enjoyed the activities. She enjoyed her roommate. I visited anywhere from 4 to 6 times a week. She was just, being active. She had physical therapy, and she had speech therapy. They were helping her with meals and dressing, and she was good. She finally got acclimated, and she enjoyed being there.
Really how big of a facility is it that she's currently at?
88 beds.
Okay. But how often did you go visit her? I mean, did you go like once a week, or did you go multiple times?
Multiple. I would go every day after work for the most part, eat supper with her. She ate better if I was there. Crawl up in the bed with her, watch Hallmark Channel on weekends. Anywhere from 4 to 6 days a week.
Doing her hair, doing her nails.
Okay. Yeah. We do mani-pedis together. I would curl her hair. We'd do Snapchat, watch videos on my phone.
She would stay till she got supper each night so that she could encourage her, with her appetite, and to make sure Grandma was took care of before she come home.
Yeah. So every day I get off at 4, go there, I get home about 6.
Right. So, I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm sure as you have too. When you have a loved one at an assisted living facility or a nursing home facility, they just seem to respond so much better when the families are there. I mean, what would happen if you missed a couple of days or something like that? Could you see a kind of a change in her?
Yes, and she would tell me. She could bop me in the face, or she'd say, "Where have you been?" I mean, she would think it was a week or 2, but it would just be a day or 2.
As soon as she walked in the door, "Where have you been?"
Yeah. She knew.
We'd go away on vacation or something like that.
Right.
She knew. She looked forward to my visits. I always brought her a goodie bag. She loves chocolate, so she got a plethora of chocolate and peppermint candy every time I went.
And after, I don't know if there's any way to measure it, but after she got acclimated and was doing good, you can see it with the loved ones, like when a lot of them are together for supper time or something like that. The ones that have people there with them on a regular basis, like Vickie had, as opposed to the ones that I know that they were not intentionally neglected, but people don't have somebody there as much as Vickie was able to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure my mom was in an assisted living for 4 years, and she passed in January. But I'm sure you built a relationship with the other residents.
With others,
because I did too.
I did.
Because there was a lot of people. There were a lot of people back there who, like you said, people had jobs. People may be out of state. They couldn't come to see them as much. So when I went out there during the week, I would just take my mom out of her room, and we would just go out there and sit with, in the TV area and talk to talk to all of them. Just bring them in as a group. And I'm sure, that's affected the other people because you can't go in to see your grandmother too.
Her roommate, who was more mobile than my grandma was, she would be out in her wheelchair all day long. And she'd see me coming down the hall, and she was racing to get down there to me. because she knew she would stay in there and visit, just like she was part of the family.
And the chocolate she was taking her grandma, the roommate got just as much.
Yeah, every time, if I brought grandma a Christmas present, the roommate got a Christmas
That's
present.
right.
So,
Can you tell us what the level of decline was or the changes since the pandemic?
during the isolation lockdown, we noticed she wasn't eating as much and talking to the nurses. She wasn't eating as much. They had to stay in their room. So they weren't allowed to do any activities. So basically, she was sleeping a lot. I noticed when we would do window visits, once a week, she couldn't hear very well. So she was confused why I was on one side of the window and she's on the other. She wanted me to come in, come sit on the bed, come in. So that confused her. She couldn't hear me. Just downhill a little mentally. But then once we've brought her home, we've noticed she has no strength left in her legs. She used to be able to stand some, in transferring her from bed to wheelchair. And now she's just dead weight, I guess, so to speak,
You can tell she's trying.
She's trying, but
She used to could shuffle her feet a little bit, but after laying in bed for the most of 5 months or whatever it was, she can kind of stabilize herself for 5 or 10 seconds, and you can just feel her go limp. She just loses her strength that quick.
blank stares. She just gets off in another world. She's regressed with the dementia that she has.
So you did decide to bring her home.
I did bring her home.
So what was that process like from a standpoint of, you don't have to give a lot of details, but, how did the assisted living take it when you told them you were bringing her home? And then what was the process you had to go through to bring her out?
We'd been praying since probably the 1st of July whether or not we could do it. We wanted to bring her home. We seen the decline. I had a fear of her dying in there alone. So we'd been praying about it, and then on her 93rd birthday, we all went up there with cake and balloons at the window, and her only words to me was get me out of here. So that was my confirmation from God right there. I had to get her out. So I made the call the next day. The person they transferred me to was out, sick, left her a message. Next day I called back. She's still out. Let me give you so-and-so. They give me so-and-so. I left a message. No call back. Wednesday I call back. Give me somebody else. Somebody needs to discharge my grandma. Whoever. So I finally on Wednesday got the message to them that I'm taking her home. Quick as you can get her ready, I'm coming home with her. So Thursday I got the call. They had tested her on Monday, the 17th of August. Thursday I got the call she was COVID positive. Did I want to leave her for 14-day quarantine? Nope. Bringing her home. So I finally got her on Monday, the 24th.
Okay.
So it wasn't a hard process. Hospice, they had to fight to get hospice in. They were not letting hospice in except for end-of-life situations. So to get hospice in to evaluate her, to bring her home with hospice was a struggle. That took 2 days of fighting with the director to get her in there to be able to see Grandma.
Okay. So one thing that's very surprising is you brought her home with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that work for you and your family?
Well, we was kind of leery. We do have 2 teenagers, but she had not exhibited any symptoms at the nursing home. And since bringing her home, no symptoms. But Keith and I did quarantine with her for the full 2 weeks, and then all 3 of us got tested that 3rd week, and we were all negative.
It was a step of faith. We
Yeah.
decided, look, realistically, the ultimate truth is if I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it, and if I'm not, I'm not. And if an act of love like that, to care for somebody that needs love and that she loves the way she does, is the reason I get it, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I'll deal with the consequences if they come.
Right. Okay. So did your grandmother get better once you brought her home? I mean, what were the steps and things like that y'all chose to do when you brought her home, and how did she react to those?
we had all the furniture, hospice provided the hospital bed and stuff like that. So it was delivered Monday. We picked her up at 1 o'clock Monday. Immediate. I mean, we've got a video out on YouTube. The reunion between me and her is just, it's just heart touching.
Yes.
But she was happy. She couldn't wait to get out of there. She was, when we got to my house, she was ecstatic to be there, happy to be out of that hospital.
For a couple hours anyway.
For a couple hours. She did knock
then she
out
slept for a week.
Yeah,
Really?
slept for a
She
solid.
was wore out.
Yeah. But everybody, when all my pictures I post, everybody can say, they can see the light in her eyes. They notice her, the difference they've made, that being at home, the love, you know, it looks like she has life again.
Wow, that's an awesome story. So, what struggles, did it bring on, and has it caused with your family, life or whatever, since you brought her home?
Other than some irregular sleep patterns for us, we're having to listen out. Her bedroom's right beside ours, so we have to.
Displaced the sun.
Yeah, well, she was kind of glad.
Yeah.
He moved upstairs into the game room.
Okay.
But that we had to do a monitoring system, to have people come in, being able to monitor her as well as monitor those coming in to care for her. Had to buy a lot of stuff for the room, bed sheets and rugs and supplies. Hospice does have us, keeps us with all the supplies we need as far as her. But we had to come out of pocket for sitters and stuff like that.
So both of you work
Full time.
So how's that affected your work life, if you will, and from that standpoint?
I'm not working as much overtime. We did quarantine the 2 weeks. I took 2 weeks of half days. My husband is still out. He's got extra leave, more leave than me because he's been there longer.
Okay.
So he's still at home with her during the day. I'm back at work.
Okay.
But we have a sitter lined up for when he goes back to work.
Okay. How about you, Keith? Can you kind of chime in on that too, from a work standpoint?
I just feel very, very blessed and fortunate that we are in a position to be able to miss work during those 2 weeks. And then for myself, having the extra sick leave built up and be able to stay out so that I can be there. Somebody don't have to be in there with her 24/7, but she has to have 24-hour availability for an immediate need.
Right.
So I feel very fortunate that the jobs that we have give us that money and leave that allows us to create that extra time at home like that.
It's not for everyone.
That's right.
Everybody can't do it, and I feel for those who want to bring their loved ones home and can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're blessed enough to have the job that we've got the time in and we've got leave in.
That's right.
Okay. We're going to take a short break here, and then we'll come back and talk with Vickie and Keith a little more. I would like to take this time to thank all of the wonderful people and businesses who are sponsoring this show. When you visit the businesses, be sure to go in and tell them thank you for sponsoring SC Conversation.
Hardwood flooring is the most popular kind of flooring, and no one has a larger selection of hardwood flooring than Greer Flooring Center. Remember, you'll always find what you're looking for at the price you're looking for at Greer Flooring Center.
Hey, Upstate, Dave Ramsey here to tell you about our investing ELPs, Roger Sims and Jason Carr at Sims & Carr Financial Solutions. Roger and Jason are the only people I personally endorse for investing right here in the Upstate. They specialize in retirement planning, 401k rollovers, as well as mutual funds and other investments. I personally recommend Roger Sims and Jason Carr of Sims & Carr Financial Solutions. Call Roger and Jason today at 879-0337. That's 879-0337.
Welcome back. We're here talking to Vickie and Keith. Vickie, I know you've done some things because you've become sort of an advocate for the aging population. So go through some of those things and tell us what you've been doing.
I realized there was just a need, all the family members, wanting information, couldn't get information, didn't really have support. So I started a Facebook page called South Carolina Caregivers for Compromise because Isolation Kills Too. So it's
How'd you get that idea?
It's the original founder is Mary Daniels in Florida, and y'all probably heard of her. She took the dishwashing job because her husband was in the facility and she couldn't see him. So she had reached out to me wanting me to start the South Carolina chapter. So I started that. It is a private group because a lot of stories and pictures are being shared, so a lot of members want it private. But we did that mainly as a support group to each other, so we can tell what all the other ones going through, what's happening in your facility, what changes are you seeing in your facility. So we've organized rallies down at the State House. We have continued to write emails, letters, calls to the governor's office, to DHEC, to the ombudsman group, anybody that could be linked to the aging population. We have wrote letters, numerous calls, and all of us are doing that. And we're sharing what we're doing with each other so, we can help the other one out or find out what's our next step, what do we need to do next. When you hear the stories of, loved ones dying and dying alone, not hospice coming in, not letting the family member come in for the last couple hours of life. I mean, stories that just break your heart when you see this picture of how they looked when they first did the lockdown and the picture now 6 months later. The mental decline, the physical decline, it's just horrendous.
And that one you knew personally, where Ma was, that had to go to the hospital?
Yeah, her roommate. I told you she stays in the wheelchair all the time, and she's like the diva of the facility. She's in with everybody. She tested positive as well, had to go out to the hospital. But she recovered, but it's nothing. You get nothing out of her now. I mean, she used to wear hats, to carry pocketbooks, wear sunglasses. She was the diva of the place, and now it's nothing. She's laying in bed and no interaction whatsoever.
And the one across the hall?
The one across the hall passed. We would all go in there and see her. She was another one I took under my wing. She was tested positive, had no symptoms, but they moved her into the quarantine room with 3 others that had symptoms. So she had to go to the hospital, and she passed.
Wow.
So her daughter was in the process of bringing her home too, but it didn't work out.
I know you said you've written some letters. Have you written letters to representatives? I mean, who have you sent letters to?
Every representative in South Carolina.
Okay.
I pulled up the page. Anybody that had an email address, we sent it. Most of them we got automatic replies. We received your letter. We take every letter, the utmost importance. Thank you for taking the time to contact us. Some would send back and say, we'll pass this on to Representative whoever it was. I only had one.
Can she be specific with any of these?
Sure.
I only had one that replied back by email.
Okay.
And it was Representative Scott Talley here in Spartanburg, Greenville area.
Okay. So he did reply back.
Yep. And he's reached out several times. Anytime that there's an announcement from the governor, he's reached back out to me. He wanted to know the name of the facility. And I think he's the actual one that actually got me where I could pull her, because the 3 days of no contact, and I put that on Facebook. He saw it, reached out to me, wanted to know where she was at, and got a call that afternoon.
Well, great.
So I
He
think
has at least been interactive
Yeah.
and communicative, and he shows interest in what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas she doesn't get that feeling from a lot of the other reach outs.
Right.
No.
Right. So have you guys ever heard the name Connie Munn?
I've not heard of her.
So Connie is the Director of Aging for the state of South Carolina.
Okay.
The aging director or aging director position used to be with the lieutenant governor. and now it's like a cabinet type position with the governor. So it's surprising to me because the people I talk to also have never heard her name, and that's very surprising to me. With sending emails to the governor. I think you said you even sent one to Mike Pence.
Yes.
DHEC, everybody. So I'm going to be getting more information on Connie Munn, and I'm going to put it on our Facebook page, and then I'll link it to your page, and because that's who people should really be sending their emails to.
Yeah, if she's over aging.
Yes. And her email is cmunn, M-U-N-N, @aging.sc.gov.
Okay.
So if people you guys can start sending things, to her.
Yeah.
She may be, more responsive, because I'm not sure some of this stuff, the information is getting to her. And even though, you would think that office would be putting out regular reports and updates on how things are going, because I know the governor on September 1st in his news conference, I thought they were getting ready to open everything back up with assisted livings. I mean, the way he talked. And then I don't know if it was DHEC or what it was, but I've talked to some people at the facilities, and it's hard for me to kind of hold the facilities accountable in a lot of this stuff, because their hands are really tied by DHEC, from a financial standpoint also, because a lot of these facilities are private pay. Even though people pay a good bit of money, it takes a lot to run them. So, well, give us some more information on your Facebook page, and where are you going to go next? What's going to go? What are you going to do going forward?
Like I say, my group is a private group. Just go on to Facebook, look up South Carolina Caregivers for Compromise. You have to answer a few questions, because we want people who have a stake in it. And we'll get you approved. Like I say, let us know where you're at, what's going on in your facility, and we just kind of collaborate and get ideas. We want to do another rally. I think the weather held us out the last time on September 12th. But we want to do more rallies. We want to contact more people, reach out, whether we have to do rallies in front of the governor's mansion or...
You have a new name to reach out to, too, now.
And a new name, yeah. We're going to reach out to her for sure.
Y'all started discussing a date for the next rally yet?
No.
Okay.
No, we have not. But, just like with the new guidelines, September 1st, here it is October 1st, nobody here has had any outside visitation.
Right.
It's governor to DHEC to the facility, but nobody's like working together to make it happen.
Yeah, I heard, I talked to one administrator, and they received the DHEC guidelines. She said that she followed them pretty much to the T, and then she submitted her plan. Well, she didn't hear anything back from DHEC. So after about 3 days, she thought everything was okay, so she implemented the plan. 2 days after she implemented the plan, she got a call, an email. She had communication from DHEC basically telling her that she had to shut that down. And she'd spent all the money, and she thought she followed it to the T, and DHEC didn't really give her an indication of why they were shutting it down. They just basically said they didn't approve the plan. So if you could say something to our state leaders, Connie, Master, the senators, what would that be?
I would want to know if their mother was kept from them in a room with 4 walls. How would they feel? Like, why we've been locked down since March, here it is October, why isn't anybody meeting? Why aren't they coming up with ideas and plans to get us back open? So, all these COVID cases in this particular nursing home. Okay, so everybody's gotten it, and we're still not meeting. You're testing all the families or wanting them to get tested every 5 days prior to an outside visit, but yet we got another positive case, so we can't do that. So, you know, why isn't there a task force with Connie Munn and Ombudsman and DHEC and, you know, wanting...
And somebody with skin in the game.
Yeah, somebody, not for say me, but anybody that's got a stake in the game, who's got a loved one in there, come up with some rational protocols and allow the facilities who you give license to implement them. Because they're not dying only of COVID, as they want you all to believe. They're dying of isolation. So, you know, come up with, you know, talk to some family members, respond back to us, let us know, you know, what we're willing to be essential caregivers, which basically, let me come in and take care of my loved one, whether it be an hour a day or 5 hours a day. Let that essential caregiver come in. It can only help the facility because you're short-staffed. We're not seeing 10 different residents, we're seeing the one resident.
Right.
You can check
That
me.
you love.
Yes, you can test me, check my temperature, and I'll wear PPE just like your staff does.
Right.
But let us come in and take care of them so they can see family. They can continue to want to live. They're not wanting to continue to live. They think they've been forgotten.
The greatest obstacle, I got to weigh in here. The greatest obstacle is they have no way to make money off of letting people go in and see their
Yeah.
loved one. If there was a way for those leaders in Columbia to make money off of it, they'd find a way to make it happen.
You know, we're all
Great
about
point.
You
opening
can't
schools.
put the price tag on love,
Yeah.
so it gets pushed to the side.
Great point. Great point. Well, hey, Vickie, Keith, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you for
on here
having
and
us.
sharing your
Yes,
story.
thank you.
Really appreciate it. We'll be praying for you guys and your grandmother. Hope
Thank
everything's
you.
going great. Thanks again for joining SC Conversation, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again to our guests and our wonderful sponsors. Remember, you can stay informed about SC Conversation during the week on our Facebook page and website. Also, feel free to send us an email at info@scconversation.com. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening.